Well, there you are. How you doing? CrossFit fans, coaches, athletes, how you doing? Tim Morrison here from Athletic Fit. I've been doing this training system since 1995 here in Chicago, Illinois. And I'm doing a video on how we train the WOD on Opens weekends on Friday. Where that came from is I put things on social media kind of in streaks. And on Facebook, I put a series of workouts leading up to the Opens. And I said the tradition with Excel Comp, which is the competitive program that I developed, is that we train the WOD on Friday and we race it on Saturday. I think I used the word we kick its head off on Saturday. And someone came out and said, well, what do you mean train the WOD? Then I'm thinking, kind of explanatory, isn't it? Jeff, because I know you're watching this, and I'm not going to repeat it. I'm just kidding, and I appreciate and have gratitude for you asking about that. And so that video is for you and your buddies. So I gave a general description, and they said, do you have any? And then by that time, 4 or 5 came out and said, do you have any more detail on how you train the WOD? And I said, yeah, and I am going to. I'll do a video on that. So it's about training the WOD to maximize performance in the Opens. And this comes from years of experience preparing. I was a competitive swimming coach for 35 years. Multi-movement, like CrossFit, multimodal from 15-second sprints all the way up to 20-minute events. And a worldwide challenge that probably surpasses the ability to get to the games, get into the Olympic trials and the Olympic games. And so it's kind of evidence-based, and it's also exercise science. It's been a topic of mine that I've had passion with really as far back as high school and still to this day, but it was also my degree and my focus and did grad work in it. At Ohio State. Should have worn my Ohio State shirt. And so I said, I will, so that's where I'm coming from when I talk about training the WOD. So I do have, obviously I have a CrossFit background. Very early days I got certified. I got certified because I just wanted to meet Greg Glassman, to be honest with you, not the coach. I mean, my Athletic Fit duties were pretty predominant then. And I did do that. I went to San Diego. He ran a certain, and it was good. I enjoyed meeting the guy and having conversations with him. He's interesting. Certainly was a little bit of a disappointment from a content depth standpoint, but it was a good time out there. And meeting his very first athletes was really informative. And I was just walked away thinking, this is a very unique culture he's got going here. I was going to see what happens with it. He asked me to do an article or two on it for the journal, and I did that. So I coached, but I did end up coaching here in Chicago, and I became intrigued by the competitor programs at one point, around 2012, 2013. And I went on just kind of sifted through them. And from my background, strength and conditioning background, as much as there was interesting stuff in there, a lot of creative stuff in there, the overall picture of the competitive programs, based on my background, was that I couldn't understand how a coach could get an athlete to excel maximally on that kind of workload and that kind of programmed intensity on a weekly basis. If I had done that with the top swimmers, by the time I had learned my chops, I wouldn't have gotten anywhere. I guarantee you. I just didn't understand how that could work, short of being juiced. Yeah. People saying, did you hear that? He's saying CrossFitters are juicing. Our top athletes might be juicing. And then my answer to that is, so I did develop the program. We kind of started at 16, some missteps with athletes that just didn't work out. And it really popped the last 2 years, big time. This is with athletes that were way up on the leaderboard from 25,000 joined in. The fastest we had then was about 11, 12,000. They had been wafting, going up and down. They saw a workout on a couple workouts of mine on, I think, Instagram that they said it looked like a swimmer workout. And so this guy that I'm going to make an example of was a former swimmer who joined. And so a little bit about Excel Comp. It is periodized, 6 to 8 week periods. During any one week, there's only 2 high intensity workouts. 2. Sometimes 3. Probably 2.4 average. 2.3, 2.4 average. High intensity workouts include training tracks. So there's a series of 3 to 5 Opens related Wods, or structures, I should say. We train Opens related Wod structures. The movements can vary a bit within that, but they're replicable structures that you see in the Opens Wod. Sometimes we train just regular Opens Wods that have been done. And so those are an hour and 45-minute workouts. Those 2 workouts. The other ones we practice as low to moderate intensity. They're not physically high intensity, but mentally they are. And the Wods, 70% of our Wods are repeated every year. The athletes keep data. Initially, they're not crazy about that. It's like, come on, man. CrossFit's like, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, I'm out. It doesn't work that. And the more experienced you get, the more data you better collect that's going to inform you about even subtle nuances that can be improved. And you need to do that. So they keep track of reps and time, of course. They keep track of total breaks and where they are and how long the breaks were. They keep track of heart rate at the quarter and the half mark and the final mark. And they have the wearables to do this. They keep track of work output, just reps per unit of time. They calculate that for every rep. And they film all the reps that we deem need to be filmed. They all have tripods and remote controls of the film. We only want the first and the last reps, quarters to be filmed. What better feedback is that? Since the workouts are repeated, you keep going back to that. All the movements might change a little bit inside. They can be, if the cadence is the same and the direction is the same. That information provides individualization, and it provides quality control, which is relatively non-existent in Opens Wods quality control. You have to have reference points. Every workout, I want to know, I want my athletes to be faster than they've ever been before for that particular cluster of movements or that particular Wod structure. And same with the strength training. So given that, here's what we do. This is JD. He's one of those guys that waffled way up and down. And he came down, he was 11,000, he went 6,000, he was low third, 32,000. Last year he was he was in the 1,000 mark. So he made cap. We had 2 make cap. That's big. And the other one's not that far behind. So we do where does he get this? Opens 20.1, bar facing burpee was 3.3 seconds per rep. This is a Wod we did on a training track. That means it's repeated every week. And he averaged 1.8 seconds per rep on the deadlifts. He took 3 breaks of 7 seconds. That averaged 7 seconds. So we always start with the standard warm-up, 12-minute dynamic mobility and ballistic stretching, which is awesome. And we always do alactic sprints, anywhere from 4 to 10. That's 10 seconds, as fast as you can go. The modes change all the time, and we're trying to really fire up that white fiber a bit. Execution. Scott Layer headed up this program this year, not me. Former colleague at the University Club of Chicago and finishing his doctorate in New Orleans. Great-minded, bringing stuff from way out of the box left field, bringing it down and shedding light on stuff that we do, and etc. So in execution, we did 3 rounds of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 reps, descending. Each round gets faster. First round's a walkthrough, working on the mechanics that we think are important, and then it gets faster each time. Breathing, by the way, is the key issue that heads up all of excel comp execution, as well as athletic fit. It's syncing the breathing to the movement. It doesn't come instinctively. It needs to be focused on in your training all the time. It never comes instinctively. So all the deadlifts were touch and go, no dropping the weight. And it's inhale on the way down, exhale on the way up. There's no compression going on. Primers, we did a loaded primer versus speed primer. Weight vest 25 pounds, deadlift 265, 4 rounds of 6 reps, 30 seconds rest at pace, which they did. Immediately, we went into the main set. Why immediately? You ever taken a weight off a bat after you've swung it a few times? Bat wants to go on his own. So I want to create a condition here where they have to overcompensate to slow things down a bit. This, I want them a little off their pace. Off it. And then this, I want as much faster than pace as possible. Right? And so last Friday, no one did the 2. Everyone was too fast. Reasonable, 2 reps. They had to start over. Half had to start over after the 4. Eventually, you had to keep starting over until you did it. Really working on the demeanor of what you need to do to set up to be a beast on the back half, to be in performance mode instead of pure survival mode. Reciprocal innervation. You know what I'm talking about. And they all did that fine. And that's how we train the WOD. We do this for warm-up, but these 2 are dialed down a bit. That's how we train the WOD. Best of you guys on 3.3, 22.3. It's going to be load-based, you know. It's going to be high skill. Connect the dots. Best of luck, guys.